Hi everybody, I just wanted to do a project share today and share with you some of my ideas for DIY stencils and show you how I made up some of these stencils out of just some packaging. This is cellophane that I had gotten from the back of a stamp package. And we probably all have some of this cellophane laying around in our craft rooms. So what I decided to do last night, since I've been working so hard on these journaling by 5 prompts, if you haven't tried that yet, I'm going to link Shannon Green's video below. It's a lot of fun, and it's a timed art journal project that I am totally obsessed with now. Basically, one of the prompts has to do with stamps and stencils, and since I'm running a little low on stencils, instead of running out and buying a bunch, which I would love to do, but can't do that right now because, I gotta conserve. So I decided to cut a few out of my own. Here's the first book. This is Eerie America, and this is haunted places all over the US, and I like spooky stuff, so there's nothing too scary in here though. It does have a lot of really fun, cute little images, and they're all vintage. So I did one of the bird cage, and there's a wine glass in here. I did a horse. I did try sketching out like a rooster that was in there and a couple of women that ended up being a little bit too intricate to use for an X-Acto knife, and you can get a more intricate stencil cut with a hot tool. But since I just have an X-Acto knife, I wanted to keep it to pretty basic shapes, and here's what you can get. Did this vintage car. I don't know if you can tell, but this is the shape of a woman's head and her shoulders. And there's that horse. I did a car. And then this one is what gave me the idea to start doing some sketching over the stencils, because once I stenciled it out, I couldn't tell that this was a corset. So I just went along with what the book showed, with the guidelines of the book, and sketched in with a black pen. And I like how that turned out, and I think now it actually looks like a corset, so that's a bonus. And then I went on and sketched out a couple more things, and the cool thing is that once you stencil these in, you have your basic shape already, and you can kind of do what you like with it. I did a couple of different bird cages, and I don't know how well you can tell there, but they do look a little different, and they have different birds. And I thought that this image, once I stamped it out, it could also work as a house, and it even looks a little like a birthday cake to me. So there's that wine glass, and but I also like the way that they came out as just the stencil itself. And I did use the distress inks with this, and the way I put the distress inks on was using these handy dandy makeup applicator clothes pens, and I just label these to keep them with the color. And the cool thing with the distress inks is, this one's pretty well done, is that it gives, on the sponge, it gives this kind of faded look that adds to the vintage feel of the stencil. So I thought those were cute and thought I'd share those. So there's that cellophane, and I'd like to upload a video showing you some tips and tricks on how to use an X-Acto knife when you're cutting, because there are some ways that you can get better cuts. And then I wanted to show you this sheet of die cuts. This is from a Kaiser Craft paper pad. You can use these as stencils. I'm sure other people have thought of this, but when I spotted that arrow, I knew I wanted to make that into a stencil, so I went ahead and punched out the rest of these dies and thought that it would be fun to stencil in a light background color in an oval or a tag shape, and then you can have that as a journaling space. And This is one I did on cardstock, and the cardstock is quite a bit thicker and it'll be more sturdy, probably last a little longer than this thinner paper one. But a trick that I learned online was to coat both sides with matte medium, or any type of gel medium really, and it will sturdy up your stencil so you can use it longer. And I also saw on Julie Faye Fan Balzer's YouTube that she lines each of the ends with duct tape, and that also will help strengthen the stencil. And once you start using it, especially with acrylic paint, the paint itself will build up a little bit on the paper, and that will also make it sturdier. And I'll just show you quickly the little index card I made. This is from these stencils, and then I did a little heart one out of the cellophane, and thought I would show you how this one turned out. This is from the cardstock. So just some floral images and things like that. That's from this other book that I mentioned at the beginning. I checked this one out of the library too, and it had a lot of really neat nature type images that you could use as stencils. And this was also just really inspiring for art journaling because of the colors and all the different types of canvas they use. And here's a couple of ones that you saw stamped out on this page. I like this kind of funky look. If you use photo paper, that's fairly heavy but still easy to cut through with an X-Acto, and I liked the look of these squares because they're not super perfect and they just add a neat looking background. And then I just did this little, I think it's a tulip or maybe a lotus flower. So I thought I would share that with you, and I would love to hear any feedback you might have about your stenciling adventures, and if you've been making any of your own, and just stenciling in general actually, because I love them, the store-bought ones too. And as soon as I do another haul, I'm sure I'll be picking up more stencils, but for now I'll be able to use these. And be sure to check out my next video that's going to be on how to cut out your images with an X-Acto knife and some of the ways I've learned to make that go a little smoother. And so anyway, I sure appreciate you watching, and I will talk to you next time.